or they might be somebody that had been a layperson on a crisis line, and they've learned to become a trainer in Safe Talk. They might have learned it through their work in a school system, and so they're a school teacher that's now doing the training. They might have learned it in the justice system, and so they could be a correctional officer that's now doing the training. So there's no barrier in terms of who might become a trainer of either Safe Talk or assist, for that matter.
And certainly, and no barrier to anybody who can take the classes, which are, again, phenomenal. When we return, my guest, Living Works President Richard Ramsey, and I talk about what being in a class is like. We're back in just a moment. And if you like what we're doing here on Mindset, log on to our website, mindsetshow.com. Go to the Support Us tab and shop our affiliate vendors. There you can find everything from electronics to vitamins purchases through our website. Help support our programming. Back to Mindset, mental health news and information. How hard is it to talk to someone who tells you they're thinking about suicide? Well, I'm not a mental health professional, but I did take the class, and it's really not that hard. Well, I want to talk about what it's like to take the class for folks who are not familiar, who may be thinking that it's something that they want to take advantage of. As you spoke of beforehand, and I can certainly attest to this being true and applicable to me, the issue and the subject matter of suicide was something that I found was scary to me because of the reasons that you noted. That is, I felt wholly and entirely unprepared, not having any sort of skills about what to do if somebody brought the subject up. And the whole idea just scared me. It just really was a frightening idea that I might be approached or have a conversation with someone who told me that they were thinking about suicide and I don't know what to do. So one of the things that this training does so incredibly well is it just takes that, in my case, considerably high level of anxiety about having that conversation away. You feel so very prepared to have those conversations. Walk folks through a suicide talk presentation, the 90-minute presentation. What's that look like?
To start with that program, in some ways it looks like, I'm trying to think about it in the sense of classroom learning or perhaps a lecture kind of environment where you have a lead kind of instructor. It engages you in kind of a high level of interaction, so that you get a chance to sort of think about the magnitude of the problem. In other words, is the problem of suicide big enough for me to even take 90 minutes to address it? And so that it helps students or participants see that they get familiar with this notion of the iceberg, and that the actual number of deaths in suicide are quite small compared to what's beneath the surface in terms of the number of attempts or injuries, and then even a broader level in terms of the number of people who have been affected by either someone's suicide or someone's direct experience of suicide. And it can get larger and larger in your community in terms of those who have been bereaved by suicide, and for those who have actually had some thoughts about suicide at some point, either in a recent time period, like 2 weeks to a month, or in a lifetime. And so you get the iceberg or the pyramid effect of this is a much bigger issue than what meets the eye in terms above the clouds or above the surface of the water, and that gives people pause to think about. Well, I thought this was just sort of a small problem within our society, but you're now helping me realize that it's a much bigger one. And actually, I can identify with that because I may not have known someone who died by suicide, but gee, I think I know somebody who attempted, or I know somebody who has been affected by it. And come to think of it, I just realized that I lost a high school friend, let's say, and I sort of pushed it out of my mind for all these years. And now I realize when I go back to think about it, I think that friend died by suicide, and we all just kind of pushed it under the rug and decided not to talk about it.
So it gives people it gives people, go ahead, you say it. It gives people...
Well, it gives people to pause and think about, gee, this is much bigger than I thought it was. And it actually compels me to think about whether or not, A, I've been affected, or B, whether or not I can get involved as a citizen or a professional in trying to be helpful to more people. I'll just give you another example. When I started in this work as a mental health volunteer with a mental health association in Canada, and the issue of suicide was starting to surface in the community, there was only one agency in the city that I lived in Calgary, Canada, that was an advocate for dealing with the suicide part of mental health issues and problems. And that happened to be the organization I was dealing with. All other agencies, whether they were family service-oriented agencies, public welfare agencies, other kinds of helping agencies, none of them had any policy or any other kind of direct involvement in trying to address this problem. They just ignored it.
Like most people do. Like most people do, you know? And
there's a much bigger awareness today through all kinds of things that have been happening in recent years, but there's still a strong element of if we ignore it, it'll go away. If we condemn it, it won't appear in our community. If we moralize about it, we can scare people away from it. All of those kinds of things have been attempts to prevent suicide over centuries, and none of them have worked.
And one of the things that happened when I took the Safe Talk class, which I'm projecting onto the Suicide Talk class, is it made me feel like it was okay to even consider it, to discuss it, and that I could actually do something. I could actually make a difference, because before I took the class, it seemed like such an overwhelmingly huge issue. Me not being a mental health professional, my thought, once I sat down to think about it, was simply that, I can't contribute. I can't help this problem. It's too big. It's too complicated. There's too many unknowns. It's too dangerous. There's nothing I can do.
Yes.
And this training took that away.
And in taking that away, what it did was increase your comfort with the issue.
Exactly.
Increased your sense of confidence that you could, in fact, make a difference, and it increased your competence in going about doing what we often would refer to at the Safe Talk or the assist level is something comparable to a first aid intervention.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it felt like.
And you can do it well, and you can do it ably, and you can be ready for any type of occurrence for when this could be an issue that is really inviting you to reach out and acknowledge to someone that you sense there may be something going on in their life that's more than just meets the eye, and you wonder out loud, if you want, whether suicide might be part of that.
Exactly. And let's talk about, if we could, for a few minutes that we have remaining. I've had you for over 40 minutes now, so I want to be respectful of your time. But I do want to talk about the nuts and bolts of Safe Talk, because I just think it's such an incredible program. I think everyone on the planet should take this program. I mean, it's only 4 hours, but it's amazingly empowering. At least that was my experience. And I just want to say for my audience, you guys aren't paying me to be complimentary of the program. I'm doing this completely of my own accord. It's an amazing program. And one of the things that it does is it lays out very specifically what to say and how to say it. And it's not difficult. It's not complex. I thought that was great.
Right. It's, and one of the very strong messages that we have been working on over the years, both through Assist and through Safe Talk, is that the opportunity to be helpful to somebody else in a suicide thought or crisis situation begins with you. And we've put a lot of emphasis on the fact that you can be anybody. You can be a professional helper, you can be a layperson, you can be a friend or a coworker or colleague. And if you understand that the ability to be helpful begins with you, which is one of the titles of one of the key videos we have in the Assist training program. But it really conveys that message that you don't have to pass on to somebody else. You don't have to be frightened. You can actually trust that if somebody approaches you as a potential helper, you can accept that invitation and be ready to reach out and be as helpful as possible.
That's our show for today. You can find LivingWorks online at livingworks.net to find out more about what they do and how you can get trained to have a conversation that can literally save a life. It's easier than you think. You can check out Mindset at mindsetshow.com or follow us on Twitter at Mindset Show. Remember, dare to see mental health differently, because understanding why we do what we do makes us all do better. See you next week.